Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on a journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney
And Kelly.
Hi,
Hey,
Mom.
Sydney.
No, quit it.
Okay.
It's my turn. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Sydney.
That'll still make it in there. So I had my time away for a couple days. It was very nice. And that was a great Christmas gift and Mother's Day gift from you and Dad. I got, basically I had a spa day at the resort, and then I got a whole day night to myself at the resort. And I was thinking, it's such a good skill to have that. I think it's more uncommon than it should be. Being able to just be by yourself and like enjoy your own company. Like in my head, I'm hilarious. You know, I make the best. It's like you need to know how to like just be.
Yes.
And
Just be.
And it's hard. And I'm not saying that like the whole time I'm there by myself, I'm like 100% comfortable. But for the most part, like I can
Good.
be. And so I think that's a skill I got from you. You're very good at that.
Good.
And Dad can kind of be by himself too.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
If he's doing something, then he can do. But yeah. So I was like, it's like getting reacquainted. It's just like trying to be reacquainted with yourself and like enjoy yourself enough that you like your own company. You know?
I love that. Yeah.
And then just like I'm such an eavesdropper and watching people and like, why are you here? What are you doing? Lots of baby moons.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't think
really?
I've seen that many pregnant women in like one place.
Wow.
And then I'm like, I don't know. To me, like I went to a resort when I was pregnant, and it's just like, ugh, why would I want to do that when I can't drink anything?
Yeah.
You know? I
do.
guess I get it. You get to sit and relax. I'm like, but I could do that at a place that's much less expensive.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
It's like if I'm going to spend money, I'm going to enjoy everything.
And you're limited on massage stuff.
Yeah. You can't have all the same treatments and stuff. So you can't go to the sauna.
Yeah.
You can't, like, there's so many things you can't do.
Right.
Just isn't worth
funny.
it. But then there was like someone there I ended up talking to their mom for a bit in the pool, and it was like her daughter was like just turned 30 and her other one had just graduated pharmacy school, so they're doing the big seller. And then it's so funny the way women versus men and how they talk and how they talk to each other.
Right.
You know, like I had there were a group I think they were all moms or something. They were all chatting about their kids and then stuff at home, and then there's another two women talking together, and one of them was, we open up a lot with our friends of like talking about struggles with their marriage and all this stuff, and then like guys over there talking about whatever trip they went on, and it's just like man,
Nothing.
no,
it doesn't do deep or personal.
no. So it's just always interesting the difference between
revealing.
men and women, and so just watching everybody, and it was good.
It's
it
fun,
was
isn't
awesome.
it? I'm glad you had a good time and were able to relax.
Yes, it was great. And I know not everybody can do that, but even if you can give yourself just like a night to just be with yourself.
It doesn't have to be anywhere fancy.
No.
You just happen to
Because I've
do this, but you've done it.
done it anywhere.
I don't need ritzy, and I just sit somewhere and I'm fine.
Exactly. So if you have some time, get comfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm glad I can feel comfortable with myself. And I think just like reassuring myself that I can, because like as you have people to your life or you hang out with friends more, it's just like, okay, but can I really be with myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody can.
No. So it was just a nice time. That's my little.
Oh, good.
Hopefully everybody can get comfortable.
Yes.
We are
like yourself.
Like yourself. I know, right? That's hard. So we were rounding out our little spiritual month of June.
Yes.
We're going to talk about some of our own personal dealings with spirituality and religion and the church and all that stuff. I'll go first since my story's shorter.
Okay.
And take that how you want. But I don't. So it's just it's kind of nice because it's just always been around. I mean, you and Dad worked in the church, so we just was part of it. Did children's choir, did all the children, Sunday school stuff, sat in sermon, all that stuff, and then we'd moved to Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through confirmation, and with those stupid bully girls.
Yes, it was not.
No, that was not great.
You didn't have a good group.
Like, I tried to open up and say something in a session, and then they just like used it against me later to like make fun of me and my teddy bear.
That was really,
That was
I remember
stupid.
that.
So that was annoying. And then everybody was in their little cliques. And now the youth director, he was great.
Yeah.
I never had Brandon. He was great. Never had any problems. But it was just like the people my age. And then I did still do youth choir, but there were a lot more of the older, high schools. And I was friends with a girl who's like 2 years older than me, and and she also didn't like go to youth group. Yeah. Which was kind of nice. And so I did the choir, and that was fun. And then I did the handbell choir too. And that was, so it's like, I kind of found other ways. But I will say, like, I was never very into youth group. I didn't care for the mission trips. I didn't care for the people. I didn't care.
That just made it. The people make it. Well, and you would have had a different experience with different people.
I think so. And I think it just never lined up. Because, like, in Memphis, I had a great youth director, but then the people in the youth program I didn't like. Yeah. Then we moved, and I had more friends in the youth group, like at Spring Creek, and that was good. But I didn't always like mesh well with some of the leadership. It just kind of depended. And so it's like, it never like synced. Yeah. Up for me, which is kind of, and then ironic coming from a mom who was like
who was a youth director.
I know. Did you just, did it like eat you up a little bit?
I did. I ached for that.
Oh.
I ached.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've been on like a mission trip or two, but I didn't do much.
And then,
yeah. And then
when college
was good. Yes. And so, I graduated high school and was kind of in the church, but not really when I left. And but I think I was okay with that because I just figured, I'll find something else later. Yeah. Truly. So it wasn't like a huge deal for me. And music was still so in my life in other ways. It was okay. Right. Then I went to college and then was like, well, I'm definitely going to go to the Wesley on campus. Like I know, like that's what I'm going to do. And so I went there, and then literally like a couple of my lifelong friends are like from going to the Wesley. Right. Right. So that was good. And like did their, they had like a freshman group, did that Bible study, went to service every Tuesday night. And then kind of near the end of freshman year and then going to sophomore year is whenever I got into the band and started playing keys, as they say, keys. And that was good. And like, I stuck with that. I mean, pretty much through my whole time, very regularly, like junior and senior year, like I was it, and, which was good. And then, so that kind of kept that going for me. And then I still had music, and like, I didn't go to a Sunday church because I was like, I'm going Tuesday nights. Hey, that's enough. That's enough. I'm in college. I'm going to sleep. Yeah. And then pretty quickly, like I went and had my master's, and then pretty much as soon as I graduated with my undergrad, though, another student who's in my studio with me, she was running the choir program at a church, and so it was like she wanted me to come and conduct and help with that. So like I've just have constantly just been in it, and that was good, and like had its time, and it gave me a sense of community. I will say I didn't have anybody my age that I was really like friends with at the church. They were they were all like people from choir, so older, which was great. I'm still friends with a couple of them, but it's just like I didn't have to go to a church and find that young adult community because I didn't really it wasn't a need for me. Yeah. But I think at the church I was at, it would have been a little easier. It tended to be a younger church and there were people there, but I could see how hard it would be. I was kind of like, thank goodness I've got this choir thing going. Yeah. And I have this group, because then I don't have to worry about Sunday school class, and I don't have to worry. It's like, I can just be here. And right. So I've never had to struggle with that part of it until recently. I mean, because now, I'll sub at the church, but I don't go, but I don't have, honestly, and I know this is, I don't have the time. I know it's such a priority. I have time to go to Sunday morning church. I make that a priority. But when it comes to stuff during the week, it is hard. Like if you don't have a kid that can go too. Like I think when Charles is older and he can go to Wednesday night activities, then I'd go to Wednesday night activities and I'd have stuff to, but for now it's like he can't go to that stuff.
Right.
So they don't have childcare
Right.
for that age. But I don't know. But then at the same time, I think it's like what we were talking about kind of last week. If I find community and stuff other places, do I need to go to a weekly Bible study or can I just go to church and get,
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in that limbo a little bit with my journey. But it's like I've never, other than not having a good youth group or a good youth experience, that is kind of frustrating. But other than that, I haven't really had anything like really testing, you know, or like really make me mad with the church or frustrate. I haven't had a ton of that. And I think part of that is because since you and Dad were both in it, when I was working in one, I was like, I know there are always going to be issues with people. I'm not going to like everybody at the church. I'm not going to like everybody that works at the church. I won't agree at all with what a lot of the church sometimes does as just an institution. But I could always kind of look past that and just think, okay, I like a lot of it. Am I being filled spiritually? Am I getting what that sort of thing? Yeah. And so I think because I could have that bigger picture of it.
Right. You didn't expect it to be perfect.
No. And in the end, I ended up moving and I probably was going to be pretty close to changing churches anyway at that point. So it kind of just ended up being a natural progression. But I think, I wasn't afraid either to leave and look for something else. Yeah.
That's good. Interesting.
So that's my short.
That's your short
story.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep mine short.
No.
Well, no, I was raised
I'll
in
ask
the church
questions as you go.
It just was a natural thing to do, to go. You just went.
What Oma was like super churchy.
Yeah, they were heavily involved. Yeah. Both parents, I guess, were in different ways. Yeah. And so we just went. Mm-hmm. And you just went to confirmation. You went through things. Mm-hmm. And it was a place when we moved. Now, there was one church when we lived in Kansas. I did not like the church.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like the people I didn't like.
How old were you?
No, I was in middle school, so I was an awkward person, and I did not want to go to the Sunday school.
Okay.
I don't know if I even knew the people. I don't know what it was, but it was so bad. I went to service twice.
No.
Because my parents went to Sunday school and then church.
So you just...
And
did they know you were going to service twice, or did you just sneak into it?
I don't know if they ever figured that out or not.
That's you.
So
there's
I would
nothing
just
else
go to
more Kelly than
church
that.
twice. It was
awful.
It really was. Can you imagine sitting there? Well, you do with music, but that's different.
But it is a little different.
Middle schooler just sitting there.
Yeah, I wouldn't as a middle schooler.
So I did that. And then when we moved from there was a church that was just starting out. It was a United Methodist. That was
and you guys kind of were founders a little bit, right?
And so we were at the beginning of it, and that was fun because it was a small youth group, and being an introvert, that was ideal for me.
Yeah.
And just it really shaped me.
Did that like get you into you? Did that ever get you to think, I
that's why I got into it. I think.
Yeah.
It was a place, and youth directing seemed fun because it weren't regular hours.
No, you just played.
You didn't have to get up early.
You get to play all day.
You plan fun things to do.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But anyway, so that's where I got into going and getting my degrees in religion.
Yeah. Was it ever like...
religious ed.
I mean, growing up, was it just like, were you ever like, I don't like church, or, this is frustrating to be, Or we just
enjoyed it. My brothers didn't go. They quit going.
Really?
Yeah, in high school, they never went.
And Oma and Grandpa didn't?
No, I don't.
That's good.
No, they couldn't do anything about it, I guess. And what are you going to do,
I mean, especially if you can drive.
And so, every once in a while Kurt would show up, but, you know, but basically not.
No.
And so it was my thing.
That's nice.
Which was nice that they weren't
nice.
around.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Get out of my space.
But, so I did that and went on, got my degrees in religious education.
But first, you weren't going to do that, right?
Yeah, I was going to go into PE and teach English and such. And
then you hurt your back?
Hurt my back, and it just, I couldn't imagine myself teaching. So
no, I can't either.
I just went back to what I knew.
Yeah.
And what I enjoyed, and it ended up being the right thing.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, because I love the philosophy and the religion aspects and tearing scripture apart and looking at it.
Really?
But
I always think that's funny that you say that, because you don't like, that's not the style of preaching that you like usually, and you don't. I feel like you don't really do that now. Really?
if you listen, Lupina has.
I mean, that is what Lupina does, but I feel like you told me, oh, I don't usually listen. Yeah, I don't usually
it's
enjoy
the way her
energy. Okay,
I usually don't.
Yeah,
but
hers is
I don't want to
authentic.
hear somebody's life stories, because
it's like we're talking about scripture
tell me
right now.
about the scripture and then go from there.
Gotcha.
But so I do enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But then when you get into the church, you have to be careful how you do that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, they didn't tell you that part of it. But it's okay because I don't mind watching people's eyes pop out, and go, oh, I didn't thought, but you do it gently.
Yeah, chill.
You want to know the secret?
Oh my God.
It's the same thing I told you. Some people will say this. Some people will believe this, and others will believe this.
Yeah.
And you'll never know which one is mine. You just throw it out there because it's truth.
That's so
people
good.
Have different understandings.
Yeah.
So you let people look at them all.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
That's interesting. Did you ever do like?
And so I teach.
Yeah.
I didn't do a lot of sermon. I didn't.
No, and like in school.
I'd have to. No,
you didn't do anything in school. No. Okay.
But when I was youth director,
sometimes they have you get in front of the church and do that.
But I love to teach because I love doing that. I loved letting people go, oh.
Yeah.
And then
that's
claim
probably,
it for yourself.
That's pretty ideal, I would think, for a youth, too, to hear it presented that way. Yeah, you have to be a little
careful that way. But yeah. And, because you have a wide range of ages with you. Yeah,
that's true.
And you don't want to just, you don't want to.
Because, I mean, a sixth grader is not going to hear something and interpret it the same way like a senior in high school.
So you have different ways. Yeah. But and I enjoyed that. And working in the church, you just, one of the things that I learned, and it was hard, was it is as political as anywhere else. Yeah. It is sometimes a business, and women get the short end of the stick. Oftentimes. Now, we had one minister who they were going to pay him more than a single woman, and he said, well, that's not right.
Good.
And you wouldn't accept it.
Wow.
Now, that's rare.
That is rare. Yeah.
That's somebody who had an understanding and integrity that he wasn't going to go. I got asked questions that others didn't ask when I was the first female youth director at this church, and I got asked questions by the committee that others would not ask.
Others didn't.
And well, how are you going to relate to the boys? Well, how does the male relate to the women? Yeah. I had 2 older brothers. Don't worry about me. Yeah. But it was just interesting that this was a thing. And then,
wow.
Yeah, so I worked in various churches, and one of the hard parts was when the last church we were at, in one city, got really, really ugly.
Oh.
With the pastor, and it was just different understanding, and he is a fantastic person, and a good pastor for me. But it got really ugly, and people within the church, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is ugly, and people were leaving, and staff was.
I'm sure staff
was awful. It was just. And
it is. You have to be so careful.
It is. It's made up of people.
It is.
And people that it's no different than what happens other places. Then you get a mob mentality, and it's not right. Yeah. And but people buy into it. And so when they were having one ugly meeting of finance and just tearing somebody apart, I held a prayer meeting in the chapel, and people came there as a way of because I didn't want to be. I want to be a part of a healing place. And so. But it's just amazing what it's churches, and you have to go, okay, what's best for me?
Yeah.
And I had to literally tell people I would get emails and say, get me off this list. I don't participate in this.
Oh, that's good.
I'm not a part of this.
Yeah.
And it was hard.
Yeah.
So Dad took another job, had an offer, and we moved. We were going to move, but I knew
you were going to stay.
I wanted to stay until this.
Wow.
We got to the other side of it all.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I was able to do that.
That's cool.
But I had a hard time thinking of working in a church again.
Yeah.
Being a part.
Because
But
you
I
really
did.
did. I mean,
did. But when we moved here, I knew that I would never serve on another committee
oh, yeah.
because I'm not getting in. I could not get into any
Some people are really into
discussions
committees.
within the church. I
Yeah.
thought I'm going and I'm being a part,
But
and
I'm
I will
not.
volunteer to do something, but I
Yeah.
will not be on a committee to hear people's.
Yeah.
And it's necessary in a
It
church.
is. It is.
And thankfully, there are people that
people
can do
can do
that.
it, yeah.
But it did shift my thoughts of church and being and then I just began to expand what church
was
and
Yeah.
how I was going to grow spiritually
Yeah.
because the church within itself didn't do.
Yeah.
I needed something more, and that's
like-
when I looked for meditation groups.
Do you think that was easier to do? Because like by that time, I was going out to college, and Lauren wasn't really going to church anyway.
Yes.
So it was easier for you to, because you didn't really feel like an obligation as a parent to like keep.
And I still would have gone, but I would have looked
Yeah.
else. I still would have tried to look elsewhere. For my meditation. And I was going to church when I found some meditation groups.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Zen
That's
and
true.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it grows. But it's the idea that the church is made up of people.
Yeah.
And it's, it's kind of like you think when people think of monasteries, like it's community and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not,
No.
let's all just be home and do, because
Yeah.
it's still
It's still
community
people.
and you're still being tested and you're it's still nothing
No.
where there are human beings more than two or three,
Yes.
more than one, even with one, that there's not issues.
Yeah. So
And it's finding what
yeah. Do you think, I don't know, I feel like sometimes, like those church issues and they start to bleed out to the rest of the congregation. I think
They do.
that really turns, at least for mine, like turns us off because it's like, okay, you're claiming to be a place that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And now this is what you're talking about. It's so hard.
It is so hard.
And I think I'm like more attuned to it having been part of the Methodist church as we went through what we've been through the past like couple of years of some churches leaving, some staying.
And it tore friends. I mean, friends were
Oh,
and
yeah.
families
Yes.
even because some didn't want to leave, some did, and it was very painful.
Yeah.
To see if you wanted your church to stay a certain way and it not
And it
be
didn't.
that, it was so you have
It's
to
hard.
find
You have to find something else. And oh my
because
gosh,
it's about, and that was about accepting
everybody,
which
is what we should have been doing anyway. But
so and it's an interesting, it is institution, but it's again, it does change
people.
ever so slowly, and it's people, and it's what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I remember when Paul and I got married, and we were talking, of course, I was working in the Methodist church, and so was he, so it wasn't a question of what church we would go to.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have been able to do my job in a Baptist church.
No, that's true. You couldn't.
I could only work with children.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. And some churches I'm sure have changed.
Yeah. But at least at that
Southern
time.
Baptist
Yeah,
church,
Southern
too.
Baptist, yeah.
So it was like, well, no.
Yeah.
So it's just, but your faith is your faith. Examine it. What is it that I need? Spiritually, am I fulfilled?
Yeah.
Am I questioning? Well, that's not a bad thing.
Yes. And it's okay to have, I think, those growing pains and like have times where you don't feel fulfilled and, you ebbs and flows and
I can remember sitting in church when Paul was choir director and he would choose some hymns and people would get up to say, and it was like,
yes.
And then I'd look around and I'd see people enjoying
it
and smiling, and I thought, I'm not the center of this.
Yeah.
This isn't about
It's not
me.
all
It's
for
not
you.
just what I like. It's about what a community likes. So I'll get my time.
Yeah.
And they'll probably not like that, right? You're
I
not
feel
going to
the
like
same
every
way
song. You're
sometimes.
not going to like every sermon. My goodness, do you have off weeks? Yeah. Don't. And you're not going to like that.
Yeah.
But it's worship. Take yourself. It's not about
you. Yeah.
It's about community and a God that you're worshiping.
Yeah. And so I think it's, you can give yourself a little bit more of a chance, I think, to get into it. Yeah. And that's any, whether it's maybe you have an off day meditating or you have an
Yeah.
off day, whatever
A lot of 'em, yeah.
community you're a part of,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like just because you have a little bit of a slump, like don't give up on,
Yeah.
fulfilling that like spiritual side of yourself. For
Yeah.
sure.
And it's about relationships. They change. They're hurtful. They grow. And, you just,
Yeah, for sure.
that's what it is.
So yeah, that's our own spiritual journeys.
wraps
I don't
it
know
up.
if you, maybe hopefully have found a little bit of your own, I don't know, your own journey in it and maybe feel a little reassured. We both, and I think
ups and
especially coming from
downs.
mom, for me, it's just like, okay, I don't have to like it all the time.
That's right. You don't.
Yeah. And then we're going to be coming up on July. That's going to be kind of a free for all month.
It is, yeah.
So we'll
It's
see what
Heather
happens.
and yawn.
Heather and yarn.
Yes.
But that's going to be a free for all month. But as we, start going out of summer, we'll probably get a little more serious again on our topics. So if you have anything you want to learn about or know about, have us talk about, just reach out, let us know. Love to hear suggestions.
Look at us on Substack too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm branching out. I got on there. I just posted one thing. I'm going to try
We'll see what happens.
see
I
what
bet by the
happens.
time this comes out, we'll have a decent Substack.
I hope so.
So that is true. Find us on Substack.
Exactly. All right. So we look forward to next week when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.